my friends, welcome back to another tutorial, the last tutorial of 2020. This week I'm going to paint like a nice candle, a kind of a melting candle in a very dark kind of a black background, and that lovely glow of the flame of the candle then, with a kind of a halo effect around it. I was thinking something like that. What do you think? So we will learn about painting a nice kind of a glow on a candle in a background and creating a very dark background with a kind of a candle stand, but just showing the highlight on the stand. So I'm not showing the entire stand, it's almost going to kind of disappear into the background, but all you will see is there's kind of the light just catching the stand just here and there, the shiny kind of a brass kind of a stand. So something like that I think would be lovely for just the last tutorial for Christmas. I think it would be really nice, and just to kind of practice about, I suppose, getting that kind of glow of a flame, something like that. Yeah, come on, let's have a bit of fun with this. I'm excited about this one. This is going to be nice. Let me show you what I have here. Okay, I have a 16 by 12 canvas. Okay, 16 by 12 primed once. And what I did was, when I finished priming it, I just gave it a very light rub of a very fine sandpaper. Look, it's very, very smooth. And I gave it a quick rub, just like that, okay? Very quickly, and it's lovely and smooth. Here's my palette, a paper palette, and I'll tell you what colours I have, okay? I have titanium white, burnt sienna, some burnt umber, some lamp black, phaylo blue. I might not even need a blue, to be honest. Some crimson, some cadmium red, some naples yellow, some cadmium yellow pale, and I also have a new one, cadmium yellow hue. You see that down there? So 3 nice yellows, and I'll show you the cadmium yellow hue, okay? This is very old. I have this now about 20 years. I rarely use it, okay? So if I just go in there close, you can see it. Cadmium yellow hue. It's a lovely colour. It's a very rich orangey kind of a yellow, you see it? So it would be nice for creating some nice flames. Okay, let's have a bit of fun with this. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. Here's my canvas, all my colours, and there's a reference photograph. Can you see it? Isn't that just gorgeous? It's very unusual. I think it will make a lovely tutorial just for Christmas. I think there's just something very warm and inviting about this kind of a painting. Now I have a lovely coffee, okay? I need a coffee when I'm painting. It's just nice to have something nice warm. Take a sip every now and again. Isn't that right? Now, there we are. Okay, I suppose we better crack on. I'll take a pencil and I'm going to just do a very quick sketch of the outline of the candle, okay? We might end up painting over the candle, but I think it's nice just to have a reference point anyway. I'm going to start with the bottom of the candle, which is the top of the candle holder, alright? We just go straight across like that. You can see the candle holder, it just has a little bit of light catching it here and there. Isn't that lovely? So I can just maybe put in very quickly this holder. So I'm just kind of guessing I'm guessing now it's kind of going out like this and down like that, okay? But you can't see these points, they're kind of hidden in the background. Does that make sense? I'm just doing this very loosely. This will all kind of disappear down into the blackness. But the main point really, I suppose, is the candle. That's our main focal point here in this picture. So let's just put a suggestion of a candle up here. Now it's not completely center. Let's just make it as center as we can. As I said, look, we'll probably end up painting over some of this anyway. So I'm not too fussed about it, to be quite honest. And we have this point up here. Let's go up nice and high now with this. It comes down like that, and comes around and up like that then, okay? It's just a simple suggestion, and all the wax that's coming off, we can do all that later. This is just to give me some idea, you know what I mean? Let's take a brush. Let's take a brush, and I'm tempted to go for something like this. Normally I would use my large stubby, but I'd like to get some nice brush texture on the canvas, so I'm going to use my medium brush here. All right, it's just a medium flat. It's a size 6. It's size 6 flat. It's very kind of worn, but it's very soft hair. It's a very it's a synthetic mix. All right, very soft synthetic hairs. Now I'm going to dip this in some turpentine. I have turpentine here with some linseed oil, just a little bit of linseed oil. I'm going to dampen this, and then I'm going to mix. I'm going to start with, I think, the lighter colour just around the centre, all right? And I'm going to go for, let's see, let's try this new cadmium yellow hue that we have. And I'm going to try a hint of sienna with that. I can see lots of sienna in this background. So I'm going to go with lots of sienna. And I'm going to take some of this cadmium yellow hue. And then what I'm going to do is take, because this is very vibrant, okay, these colours are high in saturation, so they're very vibrant, very rich, and they're very transparent as well. You can see that by rubbing it on the palette. You can see right through the paint onto the palette, you see? It's very transparent. So what I want to do now is I don't want a transparent feel to the background. I want a nice kind of a chalky, thick, opaque colour. So I'm going to add some Naples yellow. And the Naples yellow to this will fill it up. It will fill it up with pigment and filler, just to kind of take away that transparent look. So it'll cover now much, much better. Let me just try this now for a moment. Okay, now we need more yellow. I'm going to go with some cadmium yellow pale in this for a moment. And I may even take actually a hint of white. Okay. Now, that's much more kind of chalky and pasty, you see? It's a very thick, opaque kind of a colour. Let me get some more Naples yellow and some more cadmium yellow pale in this. So I'm just mixing them well now, okay? And I'm going to go around the candle with this. I know this is not exactly the same now, but this is just a nice... I want to make a nice warm, rich colour just for the glow of that background, alright? That's all. And we can add to it then as we go. So let's go in around the candle here, like that. And when I'm painting subjects like this, I always tend to paint over the lines of the subject. I always tend to paint over the pencil lines, look. And what I can do then is, when the background is finished and I'm painting the candle, I can then cut into the background with my candle. Does that make sense? Now, let me just dampen my brush. I'm picking up tiny amounts of thinners as I go, alright? Some Naples yellow, some cadmium yellow hue. Okay, let me just kind of sort of fill that in. Now, it's very dark down here, isn't it? The bright spot really is around here, isn't it? So let me just give my brush a quick wipe. I'm going to take some cadmium yellow pale. I'm going to take plenty of white in that. And there's very little turpentine in this now, alright? I'll take some more cadmium yellow, and I'm going to soften that then into this colour. And bring it around and come down around the sides as well, just a little, you see? Now, clean the brush, just give it a wipe, and pick up some more colour. So we're going to have a bit of fun now with this, trying to create this lovely kind of a halo effect. I know there are a lot easier ways of doing this with larger brushes, but I like the feeling of using a small brush and getting these lovely brush strokes on the canvas. You know what I mean? I just love that feeling. It's more free, you have a bit more control. I just find using very big brushes for most of a painting, I think it's just not good for a painter in general, because it really limits your capabilities going forward. Does that make sense? I think it's very good to use smaller brushes like this. Now I'm taking some burnt umber, some burnt sienna, and a little crimson. I'll go with some crimson this time. Let's try this. A very rich, ready brown, okay? And I'm going to put that around on the outside. I may take a touch of thinners just to thin it slightly, just to break the paint. Break it down slightly. Some more crimson, some more burnt umber. And I just want this colour for around the outside edges, alright? Now, one thing we need to be very careful of. Because I have yellow and brown, if I mix these together, they may end up going a kind of a greeny colour. So you need to be very careful with that. I'm putting a hint of crimson in around where it meets the yellow, you see? So what will happen is, instead of going green, it'll go nice orange. So the crimson here now, you see, this reddy crimson, this browny crimson. Now there's a hint of brown in this, but not a lot. But this red will neutralise the brown and it'll mix with the yellow and give us a nice kind of a warm colour, you see? Rather than going green, it'll go a nice warm kind of a orangey red kind of a colour. So that's just something to bear in mind when you're putting a very bright centre and a very dark outside. Be very careful with mixing these yellows and browns together, because it could go a little kind of a greeny colour, albeit a kind of a browny green. So that's why I'm using plenty, you see, I'm using plenty of red in where it meets the yellow. See, I'm just going to soften them now together very gently, look. And I'm not pulling it out too far into the brown. And I suppose you want to get the glow kind of somewhat symmetrical, so you can kind of move your paint around to push it in and to get that kind of nice circle. So I'm pushing the paint around, you see. Just barely touching the canvas now with my brush. I'm just like I'm holding a feather. That's what I'm doing. And I'm not copying the colours exactly. I'm just using the photograph as a kind of a reference. But I want to kind of make my own nice warm colours in this. Alright. Now give my brush a clean. I'm going to start darkening it down here now as it comes down. So from around here out, okay? I'm going to start darkening it as well. So let's go with more of that reddy brown. Let's take some sienna, some crimson. In fact, we could probably start with sienna and crimson. Is that a bit too rich? It may be a bit too rich. I'll start with that just for here, okay? Because I want to soften it upwards very gently now, look, just, and I'm going around in that kind of circular effect. I'm creating that shape. Go over here and do the same over here. And don't forget, we also have our blender brush and we can blend all of this out. So don't be worried about brush marks and all that kind of thing. Okay, we can soften it out. Look, I'll show you. I have, this is a very expensive blending brush, look. Number 702, whatever that means. It's very, very expensive. This was my wife's brush, it's very expensive. She doesn't know I have it. So let's not say anything. My lips are sealed if yours are sealed, okay? Now, very gently soften all that together. Let's just, for now, I'm going to add more light in the centre of this in just a moment, but for now I just want to kind of soften some of it together. Just to get that nice halo kind of a shape around the outside. Okay, now, how's that looking so far? It's not bad, is it? It's not too bad at all. Let's come down here now and get really dark with this. So I'm going to start using crimson, burnt umber. I'll start with that, okay? We'll put that very rich, dark, pinky brown. Get a bit more burnt umber in that. I'm going to go around this for now. Now I need to just finish this area here. Okay, so I'm going to pop some reddy brown into that. Even just kind of scrape it in, just to cover it, that's all. There we go. And I'll take a little tiny more turpentine, and I'm going to come down, take some pink, so some crimson, and I may start using a hint of black, okay? Brown, black, and some crimson. Again, I keep adding crimson into this because I want to neutralize any chance of there being a greeny, muddy kind of a color on the canvas. Once I get this in here, all of this background, I can then start adding extra darks into it, you know what I mean? Now, I'm going to leave that. What I might do is actually, I might go right through the bottom here. And you can see, you can kind of tell, I suppose, by my paint on the canvas that I'm using very thin mixes. I'm not putting on lots and lots of thick paint on this, okay? I'm just using very thin mixes for now, and I'm building up the layers as I go. Now this may not be everyone's cup of tea in terms of painting subject, but I just thought it might be nice to practice some of this kind of getting this glow effect in the painting. I just thought it would be nice. So I hope you don't mind. You know, you might get some hints and tips from it, you never know. Let's just try it and see how it goes. I'm kind of excited to try it because I like to try new things from time to time, especially something that really captures your attention. Now as I come up, I'm going to add more sienna and crimson into this already dark mix. I'm just scrubbing this onto my canvas, okay? My canvas is kind of dry-ish. It's not a very well-primed canvas, you know, it's kind of slightly dry. So you may find it difficult with a drier canvas to kind of soften colours together, but that's okay, I don't mind. Sometimes I like to have those kind of brush strokes on the canvas. Sometimes that's nice. I like kind of leaving brush strokes now and then. Now I'm going to go very dark with this black, burnt umber, and lots of crimson. It may look completely black to you, but there's a hint of a kind of a crimsony, alizarin crimsony colour in this, a very dark kind of winey, a very dark kind of winey black, okay? Now I may have to let this dry a little bit and then go back over it with some more dark colours, because it's kind of difficult trying to get a very dark colour to stay when you have some lighter colours underneath. So it can be quite tricky, but I can always just finish the painting, and at the end of the painting then just add an extra little bit of dark colour into it. Does that make sense? Now some more burnt umber with a little crimson. I'll come down here and get that in there. And soften it up into that colour there, look. And I may go up around the edges slightly, look. And soften it out. And it's fun trying this kind of stuff, it really is. It's nice for a change. It's nice to take a break from landscape painting, I find. You know, I think when you paint too many landscape paintings, you just kind of start losing the, I won't say losing the interest, but you just kind of want to, sometimes I feel like I just want to try something completely different. And that's good, that's being creative, that's what you should be doing, trying different things all the time. I kind of tend to focus on landscapes in my YouTube tutorials because I know a lot of people struggle kind of with landscapes in general. Still life can be wonderful no matter how it's painted, you see. But landscapes in general, I think a lot of people, especially beginners, tend to struggle with landscapes at the beginning, so that's why I kind of put a lot of landscape painting on my channel, but I do love painting this kind of stuff as well. Now, I'm getting my soft brush and I'm going around the circles, softening all this out, just get it nice and soft. I know I said I like the brush strokes, I'm leaving some of them, I'm not kind of making it completely smooth. So we have a nice, that's quite nice, isn't it? That's not bad, isn't it? Let's come down here and try and soften some of this. I will put more dark in here later. I need to let this kind of colour set on the canvas just for a while. Do you understand? Just to leave it set and kind of dry in slightly. That'll allow me then later to put more paint over it. Now I'm just going to clean this brush a little because it's very dirty. So what I basically do to clean my brushes is, especially the blender brush, just let me show you what I do, okay? I'll just take a little turpentine, like so, and I put some turpentine on a tissue like this, plenty of it, okay? Then straight away I take my blender brush and I just go across it like this. You see, and by doing that, you're not soaking the blender brush, you're only just dampening the edges of it to take the paint off, you see? Because if you dip your soft blender brushes directly into turpentine, it soaks right up all the way into the ferrule and it destroys the hair and it destroys the glue holding the brush together, and all your hair just falls out. So by doing this, you're keeping the center clean, you see, it's still completely dry in the center, but the outside edges are wet and it's coming off on the tissue. So you can do this once or twice and it'll be fine. And you see, it's nice and clean then again, and still nice and soft. So a nice little tip there for you. I notice a lot of people kind of do that when cleaning, particularly with oils. You need to be careful with oils because these thinners can be very strong on the hairs of your brushes. So just bear that in mind, okay? Let's have a look and see how we're doing here. I want to start adding some light in around this. So I have a dirty brush now, I'm putting that down. And I'm going to take a different clean brush. Okay? Let me see now. Let me find a nice clean one. I have to make sure these are clean because I painted a landscape with these yesterday and I used lots of green. So there may be a hint of green deep inside the brush. I'm just giving it a really good clean here now on my tissue. So that's nice and clean. Let's take some cadmium yellow pale with some white. I'll start now with this. It's light, but it's not going to be the brightest, I don't think. Let me just try it and see. Let me take a little more hint of cadmium yellow. I'm just going to go around the candle and I'm going to soften it outwards in a little circle, okay? So I'm softening it out then into that colour around the edge. There we go. So we're starting to bring this nice glow outwards, and I'm moving the paint around to get the right shape, okay? I'm kind of spreading it out and I'm dragging it with my brush to create a nice kind of little circle around on the inside there. Now bear in mind, you don't want this too light because the flame of the candle is going to be really bright as well, so you don't want it too bright. I think that's probably alright. I think that's not bad actually. I might just leave that. Maybe I could add a touch of cadmium yellow pale on its own, just around the edge, and soften it outwards. And then I can put a nice bright flame, you see, just coming up. Yeah, that's not bad. I think I'll stick with that. Let's move on to our candle. Actually, no, do you know what I'm going to do first? I hope you don't mind. I'm going to take a small stubby brush and I'm going to fill in the stand down here, and I'm basically going to just take some burnt umber. Start with some burnt umber first, maybe a hint of black and crimson as well. Look, let me just fill this in And I know then where the base of my candle will be. Okay. And go a bit darker. The thing with oils, working with oils, is you need to allow time for the different layers to dry. So you really need to be patient. Now I may have to leave all of this dry for a few hours and come back to it and then put highlights on it. It kind of disappears into the darkness down here. Just going to soften it outwards. Okay, now I'm going to take some crimson and some burnt umber. I'm going to just put that up here, under there, because it's a dark colour, but it's a warm kind of a dark. Does that make sense? It's a very warm dark. It's not a cool dark. So I'm just going to use burnt umber and crimson. Then I'm going to use burnt umber and come out for the back of the holder, swing it around, then it comes back out in front. Okay. Like that. So you're just seeing a slight suggestion of it there. Now, let's work on our candle, because I want to spend a bit of time with the candle, you see. Should I zoom in or should I leave it well alone? Let me just try this now. Let me see if I can go in just a little. That's a bit better, isn't it? Okay, let's get some brushes and do this candle. I'm going to take a little flat. I'll take a nice little flat here, okay? Now, the candle, let me see. I'm going to start with a very bright colour up on top and work down, okay? So I think I'll use a dry brush for this. Some lemon or some titanium white, a little cadmium yellow. And I want to get a nice bright colour for this. And let me start up here. Bring that down like that, okay? I'm just using nice thick colour on its own. I'm going to go slightly browner as it comes across. So even this kind of a brown that we have here would do. And it's a little bit lower on this side, so I just go like that. And you don't have to be perfect, look, because the wax is kind of starting to melt and it's kind of all sticking out and running down the outside and all that kind of stuff, okay? Now, I'm going to darken that as it comes down. I'm going to start taking some sienna. And I might try a little cadmium red this time. I'm just going to soften it upwards. Just like this, you see. Now let me take some more sienna in that, because I like the kind of sienna colour that's going through that candle, and there's even a hint of this cadmium yellow down here as well. It's a very warm browny kind of a yellow, isn't it? Let's just fill that in. Now I know it's almost kind of disappearing into the background slightly, but don't worry, we'll pick all these colours back out again in a moment. Now I'm going to just use on its own cadmium yellow hue, okay? This kind of a mustardy yellow. It's really a lovely colour. And you can see kind of clumps of it up here. It's coming down the outside of the candle. I'm just using my flat brush almost kind of on edge, and I'm just kind of letting the colour stick to the canvas. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I'm going to start creating some dark as it comes down. It's getting slightly darker down here, isn't it, on one side? So I'm going to get more of that yellow. That's a lovely yellow. It's, what is it? Cadmium yellow hue. Another lovely, lovely yellow. So I'm going to take some cadmium yellow hue, and I'm going to take some cadmium red, I think. Now that'll give us a nice, rich, dark kind of an orange. Almost like an orange, isn't it? Let's get a bit more of that. Cadmium red, cadmium yellow hue, and perhaps a hint of crimson as well. Okay, and I'll take a hint of sienna in that. It's just a matter of kind of going along and adding little colours into it here and there. Where you see the colours, okay? Where you see those colours, just add the colour in. Come out over the edge, look, with a little bit of wax. Like that. A bit more dark up there. Now you can kind of see it coming together slowly, can't you? It is coming together very slowly, but it takes time. Now some more of this kind of yellow, and it's going to start falling out from the candle, okay? So I'm just going to use it and give it a kind of a wiggle as it comes out. Look, just looking loosely at the photograph. It's just like an impression is all I want. And okay, it comes out and it kind of goes like that, and there's a blob of it there. You see? This is all wet on wet now, that's why it's kind of tricky as well. So I'm going to switch now to a smaller, round kind of a brush. I'll take this number 3 round, give it a clean, and let's go now and give this some nice colours. Let's take some of this cadmium yellow hue again. Now we can get a bit more detail with this. So I go up here, just go like that. I see a little hint of cadmium red with sienna here and there. And it's just, as I said, it's just a case of looking and painting the colours that you see. Okay, I'm putting this red now right in here, this cadmium red with sienna, right down here, because it gets really dark, doesn't it? It almost disappears into the background, doesn't it? So let's try a little burnt umber with cadmium red. And just down here, I'm going to kind of go nice and dark, and then I'm going to soften that colour upwards. Just sort of soften it up. Now, as I said earlier, the background is not dark enough yet. It needs to be quite a bit darker, doesn't it? So I can always darken it later. But for now, this is fine. This will do. Okay, let's take some more burnt umber. And I pop a little of that across in front of that candle. Look, just to define the end of the candle holder again. Or the top of the candle holder, rather. And define that. I'll pop a little bit of it up here. Just out at the edge, and I'm going to soften it inwards. Okay. Now, let's go over to the other side. Give this a little darkness here and there, just around on the outside. Okay, and it gets quite dark down in here, doesn't it? You see there's little bits of darkness popping through here and there. Are we starting to get the effect? Now let's clean the brush and let's go for some really bright colour. I'll take some cadmium yellow pale and some white. There we go, nice and thick. And let's go up here and try and define some of this, okay? Go around this edge here with a little bit of light. I'm going to soften that down. Okay, gently soften it downwards with your brush. Look, isn't that lovely? Let's take a bit more of that. And in fact, we have a very rich yellow down at the bottom down there. I'm going to take cadmium yellow and cadmium yellow pale, those two colours, and I'm going to just put a suggestion of that down in there. Look, that lovely rich kind of colour is kind of coming through, isn't it? Just in the centre of the candle. It's kind of bringing that glow downwards. And I'm going to just gently soften that colour down, sort of just across down in the middle of the candle. Okay? How's that? Now I'm going to go with some lighter. Need to lighten up all this because it's quite dark. So I'll take some of the cadmium yellow hue and perhaps a hint of white. Okay, and I'm going to lighten, just clean the brush again. It's important to keep cleaning your brush. I'm going to lighten some of this wax which is melting here, okay? And I'll go out here with that. It's probably a bit bright. Let me just darken it slightly. And get some titanium white, some of that lovely cadmium yellow hue. Okay, let me take another little bit and down here, and let's try and just define the end of that wax there. That better? So you see, it's just a case of adding nice thick paint where you need to. Now I'm going to just start pushing a little more up here, and I want to just kind of show the wax just a little better here. There we are. And I'm going to lighten it. I'm going to add a touch of light just in the center here as well. I'm going to soften them ever so slightly. I'm then going to darken in behind some of this, just to give the impression of the background sort of showing through. Okay. Now it may be a little bit thick there in places, so I might darken it slightly. And just soften that out with my finger there. And then I'll just redefine it again a little. So using cadmium yellow pale, and just redefine it a little bit, and then I'll use that dark colour again. There, you see? I think that helps. So, the next thing I'm going to do is the flame. Let's concentrate on getting this flame done, shall we? I might just add a little hint of darkness on the top of that, just here and there, just to define that area just a little bit better. Now, okay, I'm going to just soften this as well, just a little bit. I'm just not happy with this. I can fix all of this later, but I need to let it dry first, you see, because it's quite wet. The flame, I think we'll give the flame a crack. Let's have a go. With a clean brush, I'm going to start with some cadmium yellow first for this, and let's just give the flame straight down first, down the centre. Then we go out at the sides slightly. Back in. Okay. But it's only in slightly, it's not completely all the way in, okay? And I'm going to take a hint of the darker colour and I'm going to soften some of that reddy kind of brown colour in just at the bottom of the flame. And then I'm going to just clean my brush and soften that upwards. Flick it upwards, look. You see? Isn't that better? And I might take some cadmium yellow pale with some white, very, very bright whitey colour, and put some of that just around the centre. And I may then just take my finger and soften that out, okay? Now, up into that background. How's that? Now, I'm going to take some of the cadmium yellow hue and pop a little of that across on top of that. Then I'm going to take some more of that again and I'm going to create some light on this. Now the trick is, you see, you have to be very careful with this now because, as I was saying earlier, this is a very dark background. Putting yellow on this kind of blacky brown, it will make it go a kind of a green. So you have to be very careful. Don't blend it too much. Okay, that's probably the trick. Let me take a little bit of the warm colour as well, look. That will help neutralise any greens, okay, you see what I mean? And I'm creating the curvature of it with my brush. Just going around in a little curve. Like so. Then I'm going to take some sienna with some of that cadmium yellow hue again. It's a wonderful colour. And down at the bottom here, I'm going to give it a suggestion of some light in at the back of that. So I'll use this colour first. And I'll put a piece across the front here, just to separate it. Okay. Take a bit more of that and I'll pop a nice strong highlight of that colour. Let me just move the camera down now slightly. Okay, that's better now, isn't it? You can see better. I put a piece of that warm yellow just across the back of this. Just one kind of brush stroke. I'll do the same in the front of this here. And across in front of that. And a little piece around the edge of that one there. Now I'm taking a smaller brush, a small detail brush. Nice small pointy brush. And I'm going to take a little of the brown. I'm going to go through this just to give it a little bit of direction. Then I want to take some of the lighter colour and put some of the lighter colour on top of that. Okay. Now, some black. I'm going to put some black down at this side and under there. And a bit of black over here. Again, I want this to kind of almost disappear into the background, you know. The background is not dark enough for me to do that. I'll take a little sienna, pop a little of that in there. Cadmium yellow and cadmium yellow hue, and let's just get a little highlight on the top of that there. Look, little tiny highlight, and a little bit on the edge. Okay. Now I'm going to just darken in under here slightly. And that's not bad now, is it? I'm going to add a little bit of pure white just to the center of the candle. Let me just go back up there a little so you can see. Just a little hint of white. Okay, not too much. Just to help with that glow. Okay, just give it more of a glow. And I might soften then some of the candle as well. So I'm going to then soften some of these brush strokes in, just to make it a little bit softer. Okay, it's not bad. And I'm going to then take some of the lighter colour. I'm going to soften some of that in here. Just want to give that more of a glow coming down. Now, and there we go, my friends. I might darken the end of the candle just a little bit more down here. I think it needs a little bit darker colour. As I said, the background now is quite wet, so it's difficult to get all these nice dark colours in. But I will leave it dry, I think, a little. And then add some nice rich dark colours into the side of that. I will put some black, I think, just along here. And I'm happy enough now with that. I leave it dry and I can then add little bits of light just here and there. See, I can put a little suggestion of a dark just to show the wax, to kind of the melting wax coming down. And my friends, I will sign it. Let me sign it with a nice bright colour. Let's get some of this yellow, yes? And that'll complement the painting lovely, won't it? So let me zoom in and show you what we have created. Now I will just add another hint of light on the tip of the jug, like that. And I may add another hint of light down in the center here. So you see, you can kind of continue on and add bits and pieces to it yourself as well. You could spend hours doing something like this, you really could. Let me zoom in and let's see what we have created, yes? I'm very happy with this. And there we are. Nice glow of a candle. Isn't that lovely? And look, it's just about adding touches of light here and there with your brush. Don't mix colours too much. I wouldn't go mixing colours too much. Just kind of add strong marks. Now I know the candle is probably a little bit thick for the holder. You would say, oh, this is a very, very thick candle, but it's fine. I can just make the holder wider. It's perfectly fine. But anyway, there we are. I think we've created a wonderful painting, don't you? Thank you very much, my friends. We turn this around. You see, that didn't take too long now, did it? We had a bit of fun. We were just nice and loose with the painting. Just try it and see how you get on. That's it, I think, until the new year. I might squeeze one in next week. I might get a tutorial in just before the new year. There's still a week, there's still 2 weeks left. So yes, I'll get another one in. But in the meantime, have a beautiful, peaceful, relaxing Christmas with you and your families. Thank you so much for everything and all the support you've given me, especially my Patreons. You've been so kind, and thank you all very much for watching. I hope you get some hints and tips from this. If anything, a little bit of inspiration. That's all I want to do, is give you some inspiration, okay? Thank you so much. God bless. You've been great, all my friends. Thank you very much. I'll see you very soon. Happy painting. Take care.